Today we have on with us Lieutenant Colonel Buzz Patterson. I'll start over. Today we have on with us Lieutenant Colonel Buzz Patterson. He's retired. You know, he's living the dream. He's a best-selling author. He's a speaker. He's a military expert. But he's living the dream. He's been helping California candidates. And I hear, Buzz, you've started your own show?
Yeah, we actually have a couple shows that are on, that are going live. As a matter of fact, this week, I think One America, you'll be really clued into is the Power and Patriot show. It's going to be It's going to be airing every Tuesday evening, Erin, at 9 o'clock Eastern Time, 6 p.m. West Coast time, and it's the only show like it really on social media because it's by veterans for veterans. It's called Power and Patriots.
Love it.
We attack all the issues that impact our veterans, whether you're serving today, whether you're active duty, whether you're retired, whether you're deployed, or you're a family member of one of those people, guys and girls that are deploying across the country and across the world. So it's Power and Patriots at powerandpatriots.com.
Wonderful.
And then tomorrow, Wednesday nights, I do a show on my website, buzzpatterson.live, which is called The Buzz Cut. And we get into a lot of things. But what we also get into frequently is California politics. What's going on in our state? As you know, Erin, you and I we're natives. We live here. We live in the heart of the beast. That's what's going on, and we are here to fight what's happening right now in San Francisco, Sacramento, and especially with this big the election coming up on November 6th. So, yeah,
Absolutely.
Getting myself out there across the board.
Well, and it's important, you and I pre-interview before the show, we were talking about the communication of conservatives and of people, like-minded people. Some of these talking heads, they only give people a little bit of time, and they just want to take a tiny little snippet. We need the information to be able to make decisions here in California, and we need the people who are in leadership positions to be able to share with the public information. And you know what? If the media isn't going to do it themselves, the big mainstream media, patriots are going to go to it.
Absolutely. That's exactly correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And that's
so
what we need to do.
Thank you for standing up and stepping up and doing that. I was reading online, actually, one of your posts. I believe you're on LinkedIn. And you put something out there about how you're speaking at schools. And I thought, I never thought about that. I know you had mentioned that you spoke at schools, but it never really hit me. Our youth are so important in terms of the future of our country and our state. What has been the response from these youth when you go to these events and you talk to them about your message?
Well, it depends largely on the institution. You can imagine I've spoken at UC Berkeley, and that didn't go over very well.
They need to hear it.
They do. They definitely need to hear it. I've spoken at USC. I've spoken at UC Santa Barbara. I speak at universities across the country. I just spoke at University of Michigan not too long ago. And it really largely depends on the institution. But by and large, what I will tell you is there is an underpinning of youth, Erin, who really get it. They are the college Republicans. They're the Young Americans for Freedom, Young Americans Foundation, that often sponsors me on these college campuses. But what's really troubling is I go to these college campuses, like I spoke at the University of Michigan, the crowd was huge. And there were a lot of college professors there. And they all come poised with... Well, yeah, they're the problem. They're actually the problem. They're the ones that are indoctrinating our children into believing what the professors want them to believe, and a lot of these professors don't have any background for that. They don't have any facts, and really, once you debate them, once you talk to them for a while, you realize that for the college professors and a lot of these students, it's all about emotion and not about fact. So if you come at them with some factual content, and as Ben Shapiro famously said, facts don't care about your feelings.
Right.
If you come at them with facts, then they really don't have much of a leg to stand on, and that's been my experience. And it's a lot of fun. I really enjoy interacting with the students. Every once in a while, some shenanigans will go on. People will set off fire alarms or, turn off mics, that kind of stuff, which is just childish, but that happens.
Well, they're roadblocks. That's okay.
That's exactly right. That's exactly what happens. So yeah, it's fun. It's challenging, but that's really where we got to go. And not just in college. It's starting now these days, especially in California, as low as the elementary grades and in middle school.
Yeah, well, that is true. I've heard that quite a bit. A couple of candidates have been invited to speak at younger grade schools, either the elementary or middle, then some of the parents don't like it, and then they get uninvited, and then they get re-invited back. I mean, where do we get to that space where somebody can come in who's obviously in a point in time in their lives where they're ready to lead in government. I mean, they're ready to serve. They have experience and knowledge to impart to the youth in a positive way, to motivate our children to see that they can be active parts of society and players in society. Where did it come to the space where that's not welcome?
You know what? A lot of it is. I wrote a book about this, actually, about War Crimes, talks about this, because a lot of it goes back to the Vietnam War and the fact that the people who have tenure today in large universities and colleges were the people who were kids at the time and protested the Vietnam War. So they got their world vision from the anti-war, anti-military 1960s and 1970s. So they come into that situation as a professor. Now they're highly tenured, so you can't get rid of them, right? You cannot fire a highly tenured professor. So now they're the ones indoctrinating our youth, continue indoctrinating our youth. And listen, I've got a daughter in college, a son in high school, and a son in middle school. And I can see it. They are just pounded on all sides. And if you don't buy what the professors are selling, you're probably not going to do very well academically in that class, which is a really unfortunate aspect of all this. And secondly, what's happened, Erin, is the fact that so much of our youth today relies almost exclusively on social media. So if it's not on Snapchat or Instagram, it's going to be, or what's the other one, Reddit. Mm-hmm. That's the news that they get. So they don't sit down and listen, or they don't sit down and listen to an argument on TV, or they don't read a newspaper. They Snapchat their friends, and they get or Instagram their friends, and the sum total of what they know about politics in this state or any other state is what their friends are talking about. And as you know, with social media, that could be manipulated completely.
Oh, so it's a headline. It's a headline mentality. The headline is it, and it's fact. And I think that's what we were talking about. Either the sound bites, the headlines, and what have you, and they take it as truth and they don't run with it. But the other thing is, we're also finding, and I don't know if you found this to be true in your recent university visits and what have you, that a lot more conservatives are coming out and even maybe more left-leaning, or say Democrats, young Democrat-type individuals, are coming to the place where they now see that they have a lot of information at their fingertips. It's hard to fool them. You can only fool them for so long before they start seeing the realities of, say, Donald Trump and the tax cuts, the economy, our jobless numbers. I mean, our unemployment rate is at an all-time low, 49-year low. Mm-hmm. There's only so far that you can push the fake news. And these individuals, I'm going to give it to them. These young people are not stupid. They're very, very smart when they think for themselves. But what I'm hearing and what I saw out there campaigning, and maybe what you're seeing at the universities, is that these kids are waking up. They are seeing, many of them, the truth, and they're not so easily fooled anymore. But the media is trying very hard.
Yeah, and you're right. I think the youth is a lot more intelligent than the media. The media, they sing off the same sheet of music. You can see it if you watch, like I often do. If you skip from Fox News to CNN to MSNBC to ABC to CBS, you're going to see the liberals and the talking points are almost exactly the same. They come off the same sheet. The DNC is sitting out these talking points and expecting us all to believe them, right? And I think
I always said the AP is the DNC.
Well,
they're just passing it down.
It is. Yeah. Well, in a lot of ways it is, because what that all comes, nothing in Washington, D.C., I can tell you this from experience, Erin, nothing in Washington, D.C. happens by mistake, okay? Everything, as you saw last couple of weeks with the Brett Kavanaugh confirmation, none of that was by chance. None of that was by happenstance. That all was choreographed by Dianne Feinstein and the Democrats going way, way, way back. Several months ago, when they knew that Brett Kavanaugh was going to be the presumptive nominee for that job. So, and then you watch these network shows, and they're all using the same exact, he's a gang rapist. He's a party animal. He's not being genuine. He doesn't have the temperament to be a judge. So those are not those morons on TV are not, those are not their own words. Those words are being handed down by the DNC and repeated constantly, depending on what network you're talking about.
Right. Well, and what I've seen, you know, not everybody watching here today or listening here today, because this goes to a podcast later, not everybody here who's listening has been in a newsroom and seen. Those talking heads sit behind a desk and they have a teleprompter and the information is read to them, and they are, most of them, I would say the large majority of them are presenters. They have a literal script and they're presenting material. And unfortunately, that may not even be factual material, and then it's spewed out to the public en masse, and then it's expanded.
And you bring up a good point, because that also goes to the depth of these organizations, because it's not just the pundit on camera that's you know, building these scripts. It's the producers behind the scene. It's the writers. It's the editors.
It's the night writers. Go to their employment site. Their employment page literally will have areas where they have night writers writing the news for the next day. It's not the presenter who has to come in and look all pretty. You know, me, other people who do this, and for Patriot perspective, we're looking at it real time, real live, real in person, real information, thought out, looked into, investigated, and presenting from here, not from somebody else's fed perspective, you know. And I think that's the difference. And we have to get back to the place where people can trust the news, trust the information they're receiving. That's
why your show is important, Erin. This is exactly why your show is important.
Buzz.
And other shows are catching on. You know why? Because people now have an outlet. You know, 20 years ago, before the internet really had taken off, and before there was a social media of any way, shape, or form, you know, people had to depend on ABC, CBS, NBC, and at the time CNN, until Fox News came around too. So these shows, your show, my show, these are all important because people now actually have alternatives, and they can look for the truth. They can look for people who have the character and you know, and the background, the resume to be talking about this kind of stuff, and not have to rely on whatever CNN is just cramming down our throats. So, you know, God bless what you're doing, and you know, I'm thrilled to be a patriot and doing stuff too. And I think that's how you get the real world out there. I mean, the world out there. So people who are watching your show actually have a choice. They have a choice to watch you, or they can switch to CNN and watch Don Lemon and the other idiots that they have on in CNN.
Oh, those poor guys! They're getting hammered hard today. Well, you know, I mentioned this, and I don't want to touch too much on this because I want to get back to your work, but it kind of dovetails in. I mentioned this about Hannity. I love the conservative pundits. You know, I call them pundits. They're punters. I don't know what they're called, but, you know, I love them. They're doing the hard work. They're talking out there, you know, even though they're getting a lot of pushback on those large network channels like Fox News. But I hit him hard the other day, and I called him out on the fact that he went and he was talking about California politics, and he was talking with Newt Gingrich, and he was talking about how California wants universal health care. It's not California. It's the soon-to-be, if elected, person that's running on the Democrat ticket for governor. Well, we have another option, which is a Republican who's running for governor, who won't be for those kind of crazy socialist, communist, progressive ideologies. And here, all Newt could talk about with Hannity are, you know, these horrible things that are coming through with the health care and the higher tax. And Newt even bet Hannity that California tax would be at 25% by whatever date. And I'm thinking, you two are in a point of leadership. You have the ability to talk about the governor to be hopefully on a Republican, you know, he's running on a Republican ticket. You have the opportunity there to speak about conservative policies and what should be done and what we should look at and here they are just going at it about nag, negative. And I'm thinking, you have this opportunity, you know, and I called them out for it. I don't know if they heard it, but these are people in leadership. And I will call them out every chance that I get because we need people like you who are going to be very down to earth and tell it how it is, not sugarcoat it, and educate, empower, give perspective and share the information, because these guys are just, they're dangerous. Well, that's dangerous.
Yeah, that's what's dangerous, and it's irresponsible. Here you got, it's got to come from people like you and me. Or, here you got, Sean Hannity's a New Yorker, right? Newt Gingrich is from Georgia, and they're commenting about California politics, and they probably have no, well, I wouldn't say no, but they probably have next to no or very little understanding what actually is happening out here. If you want to talk about
communist takeover is what we have going on over here, and they have a responsibility, especially John
Cox is within the margin of error with Gavin Newsom right now. People aren't talking about that, but John Cox has got a chance for a huge upset. People are going to repeal the gas tax. I mean, there's a lot of things that are happening. If you look at the southern part of the state and all of these states that have sued for against the sanctuary city status, it's huge. I mean, that's not going to happen up around San Francisco and the Bay Area, Silicon Valley. But if you're looking at Orange County, down around San Diego, even as far north, I'm up in Ventura County. Yes. We've got cities that are suing California against the whole sanctuary status thing, and nobody's talking about it. That should be the things that Sean Hannity, who I like, and is a friend. I've known him for a long time.
Oh yeah, I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is he has a responsibility. I view it. I mean,
he has a responsibility to have smarter people on there than Newt Gingrich. He has a responsibility to have Californians that actually live here and know what's going on day after day after day, and they're the ones that are actually sitting out here fighting for it, to return the state to greatness. And
for all Californians, because that's the way I look at it. Is it's not a left and a right thing; it's a right and a wrong thing in terms of what's going on here in California.
It most definitely is, and I don't know how anybody, whether you're a Democrat, a Republican, a Libertarian, Green Party, I don't know how you can live here and visit downtown Los Angeles and visit downtown San Francisco and think that democratic politics are working. Look at the homeless situation, the hepatitis outbreaks in San Diego. Look at the homeless situation in Los Angeles right now and the hepatitis breakouts in Los Angeles. And if you've driven down to LA recently and seen Skid Row, I mean, it looks like not a third world country, it's a fourth world country. And the same thing is going on in San Francisco. I mean, we've got massive corporations who are canceling their conventions and their tourism because of the feces and hypodermic needles that are on the streets of San Francisco, and people want more of that. I mean, I don't care really. Again, if you're a hardcore leftist, you should care about that too. You should care about the environment of San Francisco and banning plastic straws, but giving away heroin is not the way to turn this state around. This is not the way to turn the state around. We care more about turtles and plastic straws than we care about human beings, and that's a sad commentary.
Right, and exactly. There you have it right there, folks. I mean, that's it, is what about humanity, really? And it blows my mind that you say about the hardcore left that they should be thinking about this environmentalism in terms of human impact and what are we thinking about in terms of our homeless, our veterans, and what have you. But really, communists, socialists, they want a full government takeover. The easiest way to do that is a full system breakdown, and the government swoops in and tries to save everybody. I mean, that's the way I look at it. They want to really relook at this and say, this is a right and a wrong thing. There's a right and a wrong thing going on here. And what's happening in San Francisco is 1% of a community, which, some of these special interest type organizations who are pushing some of these issues like environmentalism of, straws and turtles and what have you, those are special interests. So, we have to get back to the place where our special interests are focused on veterans. I know that in Austin, it was interesting. They have a new program. I'm going to kind of shift because we're talking about homelessness. They have a new program where they're really partnering with nonprofit organizations and really empowering them to work better with government and be that gap filler in terms of allowing people philanthropists and other individuals to contribute and support, and the communities to get involved and help one another in a way which is uplifting without the government having to do full-blown takeover. I think LA and San Francisco would be good to be looking at that sort of thing. Now, I have to ask you, Buzz, you have a couple of books out, right?
4, actually, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you were mentioning one of them earlier. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that book? Because I think a lot of them would benefit from reading it.
Oh, yeah. Well, during my Air Force career as a pilot, I was selected to be the military aide to President Bill Clinton and live in the White House for 2 years, from 1996 to 1998. Obviously, very interesting years with Monica Lewinsky and Paula Jones and all those things. So I was the military aide football carrier. So the football is a nuclear satchel. It's a black satchel that contains all the country's nuclear assets. And it's how the president, the commander-in-chief, no matter where he is in the world, can be the commander-in-chief. And I was the person that was there alongside him all the time, 24/7 for 2 years, to make sure that communications were correct and we knew how to execute the process. And so I was that guy for 2 years, lived in the White House, got to know both Bill and Hillary Clinton very, very well, perhaps too well. Left in 1998, went to the Air Force Academy, was a commander there for a couple of years, and retired from the Air Force in 2001 to be an airline pilot, and also started writing books. So my first book I wrote was Dereliction of Duty. Became a New York Times bestseller. It's still out there selling. Unbelievably, 15 years later, it's still out there selling very, very well. Amazon has the best prices, but you can also buy it at buzzpatterson.live, and I'll sign it for you. But yeah, so I wrote my first book, Erin, after my experience with the Clintons. Saw a lot of things that I didn't particularly care for in terms of my conservative Christian upbringing and the things that I was watching the Clintons get away with, and still to this day, by the way, getting away with, and they continued to not go away. And I tell you what, Erin, as long as they don't go away, I'm not going to go away. So I wrote Dereliction of Duty. It's available as a bestseller for 6 months on the New York Times list. It's still out there doing very, very well.
And they can get this on your website. And
you can get it on my website.
I'm guessing if they get it on your website, you get a better cut. So make sure you go to his website.
They'll get it signed, and they'll get it personalized too. If they go to my website, buy it there. I'll make it personal to them. Makes a great Christmas gift for your friends and family, especially if they're liberals and Democrats. I will sign them to your liberal Democrat friends and family members.
God bless you. Please convert.
Exactly. Just read the book and see the light. Come over from the dark side.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. So now that one was a bestseller. I mean, are you working on any new books?
Yes, I am. Since Dereliction, I've written 3 books. Reckless Disregard, which talks about the political divide between the Democrats and liberals in our U.S. military, why it's important. Then my third book was War Crimes, which I embedded myself into Iraq for a couple months back in the bad days of the war, 2005, 2006. That's called War Crimes. It's also still available. My most recent book is called Conduct and Becoming, where I talk about Barack Obama's presidency in his 8 years and how that set the nation back dramatically in his 8 years in terms of our national security and military affairs. And I'm working on my fifth book right now. As a matter of fact, hoping to have it released soon. And now all the details will be available at buzzpatterson.live for that.
So you have to sign up for your email alerts.
Yes,
and
please.
Then people will get
They can go to buzzpatterson.live. They go to buzzpatterson.live. They can sign up for free. They also will get access to the buzz cut of just us going back and forth personally. So say that you signed up, Erin, you watched my hour of buzz cut, and then for the next hour, you could pepper me, just you and me, back and forth with questions about the Clintons.
I'm in.
Yeah. So there's an additional fee for that, but everybody needs to sign up at buzzpatterson.live. And also, I don't want to not do credit to Power and Patriots too, because Power and Patriots, it's a powerful show. My 2 co-hosts, U.S. Navy female surface warfare officer Bree Dale, they're all brilliant. Not only do we have great conversations about what's going on in the military, what's happening we have a great time, and I've got the greatest group.
I mean, it's real.
Got a great group.
It's real.
Yeah,
that's how life is, right? It's fluid.
It's real. And you know what the funny part about it is? And people in the military will understand this. We have 3 different services. It's classic. If you've ever been in the military, you'll get it. It's all good humor, but we have a good time at each other's expense. So
I bet. It's like
Power
a
and Patriots every Tuesday night, Power and Patriots.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Now, do you have a link from your other website to that show as well? Because that would be helpful.
For so for Power and Patriots, it's Power and Patriots, all spelled out, www.powerandpatriots.com.
Awesome. And they can get there from your other website as well in case they're on it. Okay, good.
They can go to buzzpatterson.live and get there. And we also stream We co-stream, Erin, so that they can go to either one of those websites and watch the shows, but it also simultaneously populates on Periscope, Facebook, and YouTube and Twitter. So they can catch us on any of those four. So they don't have to come to the websites. They can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube.
Good, good. See, I love it. Technology has been a bear for us during the campaign. I'm not sure if you're aware. Obviously, you endorsed my run for U.S. Senate in 2018, but we really hit a lot of bumps in terms of glitches, and we're still hitting some. But finally, I think we found a solution. God bless the people who helped us through that situation. But technology can be such a blessing, and for people like you who are trying to reach out to the patriots out there who need the information, it's just unbelievable that you can get so much content out to them. Now, what inspired you I want to ask you more about this new book, because you're not really telling us much of anything. What inspired you to write this new book?
Well, I can't talk too much about
it. Okay,
I get
that because I'm writing books too. So, but I wanted.
Yeah, I've got actually two I'm working on right now, and I can talk about one and more specifically than the second one, because the second one's not under contract yet. But the first one is entitled Cloverleaf, and it's a brilliant story. It's a true story. It talks about the only Navy doctor who was on the ground in the Battle of Fallujah back in 2004 in Iraq. And this is a cool story because Donnelly Wilkes is his name. He was in his residency at Tulane University. He had been paid to go to medical school by the Navy. He was in residency at Tulane University Medical School. They pulled him out of residency and sent him straight over to Iraq and dropped him in
the belly of the beast
during the bloodiest fighting of the entire war. And he tells a very compelling personal story about what that did for his faith, what that did for his patriotism. And I'm helping him write that. It's called Cloverleaf. It'll be coming out hopefully right after the first of the year. That's the book I'm working on right now, and we're getting really, really close. And I tell you what, it's going to be a movie. It's going to be one of this gripping. You're going to be crying your way.
That's the information we need out there.
It is.
Real people.
The thing is, it's real because what we're trying to do with this is we want, I talk about this a lot on Power and Patriots, as a matter of fact, Erin, is the fact that, back in World War II, 12 to 14% of the American population was actually in uniform fighting in the war, okay? Since we became an all-volunteer force right now, we have less than 0.1% of our population that's actually in the military fighting our war on terror. So most of us, 99% of this population, that doesn't understand really the warrior. And to understand war, you have to understand the warrior. So what we're doing with Cloverleaf is introducing you to combat you are right there. You're seeing it for the first time, just like Dr. Wilkes saw it for the first time. I mean, he got on the ground, and the very first patient he had was a young Marine who'd had his head blown off. Okay, and we tell you, there's a beautiful picture it's on the cover where we talk. It's a whole bunch of Marine cloverleaf. It's in a highway cloverleaf, which is why the book's called Cloverleaf. But it will take you right there. It's a powerful book, and you're going to love it.
Well,
my second book is going to talk about all the ways that the military have been attacked over the last 8 years by the left, by political correctness. The Pentagon's been turned into just another, a political institution like the State Department, the FBI, State Department, Congress. The Pentagon is no longer a war-fighting machine. In my
don't tell us too much. It's not under contract.
Yeah, I know. But I'm pitching it out there. That's
we
the
gotta
pitch.
fish it out there.
So if people want to know what that other book's all about, it's going to be an insider's tale into what's going on really with the military that you, as the average American, needs to know about. So that's as far as I'll go with that one.
And that's important for the everyday American to understand what's really going on from a perspective of value that matters, because you know what? They're funding this. They're funding all of it. Americans are funding the war against itself, literally.
That's exactly right. That's well put, Erin, because taxpayer dollars go to the military and taxpayer dollars go to fight the military. And there's something theoretically wrong with that equation. And And we still, to this day, we've got a lot of Obama holdovers. And President Trump's been fighting this brilliantly, but he's not done yet. We have a lot of Obama holdovers who are still in senior positions in the Pentagon, in the Department of Defense, who are doing everything imaginable to undercut President Trump's national security prospects, his military prospects. And it's still a war. It's a political war. And for people
it is a political war. It is absolutely a political war, and within our own infrastructure, and these people are literally paid by the taxpayers, fighting against our own nation, our republic. It just blows my mind. As a matter of fact, when I have some good friends, many good friends, and a lot of them are in military positions, and some of them. But what I'm told is there are people within the confines of government who are literally pushing good patriots out by force, in essence, putting them in a position where they have a choice. They can face certain things or they can go retire. And it's literally a hostile environment.
That is 100% right on the money. And for people who might want to watch Power and Patriots tonight, my co-host, Colonel Matt Dooley, has just a heart-wrenching personal story to tell you how he was forced out of the military, how he was forced out of the Army by the powers to be. And I won't spill the beans. Don't
spill the beans. But I think people. It's good for people to understand there are administrators in there. Administrators. They're not even
exactly
military.
Erin, here's a guy who had 7 deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan as a commander in charge of tank battalions. Then he got asked to come back to the United States of America and teach at the National War College, which is the preeminent military for senior ranking officers. That if you get to the National War College, you have gotten to the height. It's like the Harvard or Yale of the military. Okay, Matt Dooley got there and he got drummed out because he had the audacity to talk honestly about the enemy and call the enemy what it is: radical Islamic extremists. And they drummed him out of the military, dropped him down a rank. And it's a story that needs to be told by Matt, so I'm not going to spoil any more of that. But if you will watch Power and Patriots, you're going to hear it. And it's exactly what's wrong with the politically correct military today, and exactly what President Donald Trump is trying to change with James Mattis.
And I hate to say that it's politically correct, because what they're doing is not necessarily even looking for political correctness. It's looking enemy.
They're trying to change the rules of warfare that have never.
It's like giving a police officer a beanbag gun, okay, when he's facing a gangster with a gun and a knife and a couple of other thugs. I mean, the reality is we have President Trump. We're 2 years in. First of all, we're going to hit Trump 2020. We need to get him reelected. But second of all, we have a lot of work to do, and we need to do it swiftly, because while I think the fires are not as brightly burning across the earth, there still is conflict, and our people are out there, and taxpayers are funding it.
Well, we have just scratched the surface of what Donald Trump needs to do. I can tell you that. People should not be lulled into a sense of security, because I can guarantee you that if Iran gets a nuclear weapon, if North Korea is allowed to get a nuclear weapon, China is not our friend. Russia is not our friend. ISIS has not gone away. We are in I liken it to I'm a historical guy. I like history a lot, especially military history. Okay. And if you can recount,
who would have guessed?
If you can recount the years of the late 1930s going into World War II, how that snowballed into that great world war, not great in a great sense, but great world war that encompassed the entire planet. If you can imagine that we are hearing all the same drum beats and having all the same reactions from world leaders that we saw in 1938, 1939, Erin, we're there. We're there, and people should not take this lightly. And nuclear weapons will change the shape of this world. And that's why President Trump's been so hard over on North Korea and Iran, and we've got to stop it now, or we will let the genie out of the bottle forever.
Right, and I think these trade deals are helping. It's helping correct that equilibrium in terms of the way they view the world and America and its position and what have you. It's a power struggle, but changed. They're still out there.
Yes.
And I do agree with you. Don't get comfortable, America. Be awake, be ready, get out the vote, make sure you turn out for 2018, make sure you turn out for 2020, make sure you turn out for 2022, 2024. We have to think ahead and get good, strong patriots in leadership positions and also in media and really fight the good fight. And it's going to take every one of us, I believe, to do that and unite. Well, website or anything else that you'd like to share with them?
Well, thanks so much, Erin, for having me on. You're a good friend, and I really enjoyed helping you campaign along the road in California.
We're going to need you in 2022.
I'll be here. I'm just up the road. You know where I am, so you know my address. You can reach me. So yeah, folks, if you, my name's Buzz Patterson. I'm a retired Air Force colonel. I've got several books out there. You can find on Amazon, or you can go to buzzpatterson.live. In fact, if you go to buzzpatterson.live tomorrow night, you'll see my TV show, The Buzz Cut. If you go to, and I'm all over, I'm all the normal haunts and social media. So follow me at Twitter, at Facebook, at Instagram.
All those are on your website too.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah. And tonight, if you're hanging around, I know this show doesn't air tonight, but in the future, next Tuesday, go to powerandpatriots.com and watch the best military social media show you'll have ever seen. It's only an hour. But it will illuminate, it will enlighten you, it will be both informative and also funny as hell. So please join us at powerandpatriots.com.
That's wonderful. Well, thank you again, Buzz. And folks, you heard him. Go to his website, and the other thing is and follow him, but please share the information about Buzz to your friends and your family, because it doesn't stop with us. I know it's just one more click, right? Share it and get a Christmas gift for a liberal near you. Pick up his book, but engage Buzz Patterson. He has a lot to share with you. And again, thank you, Buzz, for being on the Erin Cruz Show.
Always a pleasure, and thanks so much. Talk to you soon.
Godspeed.